seriously like a job now.
Yeah.
Even though I was talking to Marshall Harris, it's kind of like what his day-to-day life is. Like he does 6, 7 to score during the week, and he does all of the color commentary, play-by-play, every so often in the schedule. So, I mean,
Yeah.
hey, man, it's what you got to do when you're trying to build something up. You got to keep doing it consistently. You don't even got to be the best quality, but
Yeah.
as long as it's consistent, people going to latch on to it for sure.
You got to
But,
do it when you tired too, man. You know
yeah,
what I
you got to do
mean?
it when you're tired. Yeah, bro, because if you really think about it, because I haven't even thought about it. I just be going through the motions, bro. I was literally in Willowbrook for the girls' state finals, and then I drove back last night, and now I just had to talk with Miles for the Bears, like on a podcast, and now we're doing this. And then before that, a couple days before I went to Willowbrook, I was in Washington at the Bears game doing a podcast in a hotel. And then, so
Man.
it is. Sometimes week before that, I was in Decatur for golf. So it's what it takes, man,
Yep.
But what they say, when you do something that you enjoy doing as a job, you'll never have to work a day in your life. So
For sure.
I honestly don't even feel like work. It's just you're just busy all the time. Like you don't really have time for nothing else. I
Yeah.
don't want to say nothing else, but
I mean, it's the sacrifice, and
yeah,
I think that's the sacrifice not many people are willing to make for their dream or the vision. You know what I mean? It's gonna come with
100%.
sacrificing time with people you love and doing things you want to do for leisure time. You got to pretty much put it first. But once you get to where you want to be, then you could just pick up with all those things. But it's a sacrifice, If you want to make it, that's the sacrifice, bro.
Yeah,
Ain't no
biggest part
cutting
of it.
corners.
No cutting corners. The work is the toughest part, really. But gotta manage your time too. A big part of it is time management.
Yeah.
Waking up early in the day as well, so you can have more hours in the day to get stuff done. Little stuff you take for granted. Time is like one of the biggest things I used to take for granted
Oh,
in like high school, like even in
yeah.
college. I used to take
Yeah.
time for granted so much, and now when you wake up in a day and you're like, dang, it ain't enough time in the day now, and so you start waking up early or staying up late or both, and you could find out a way for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to get started, as as we've been discussing off cam in the last couple of days, week 8 of the IHSA football season has wrapped up. Dog. Hey, this is by far, hands down, unequivocally the best week of Illinois high school football of this season thus far. And as we're approaching week 9, what better way to approach week 9 with a bunch of crazy frenzies happening in week 8? Obviously, we're going to recap the Morgan Park Kenwood game first. But there were other games and teams that went down and played, like Lincoln Way East lost to Naperville North. Lincoln Way West lost to Bradley-Bourbonnais, although Lincoln Way West beat Lincoln Way Central and Bradley-Bourbonnais lost to Lincoln Way Central. So it's like, and then Bradley-Bourbonnais beats Lincoln Way West. So that's some things that we got to talk about there. Many other games that we're going to get to, but Efe, how you feeling, man?
Pandemonium, chaos, everything you could think of, bro. It was something in the air, bro. It was something in the air on Friday and Saturday in Illinois where things was just unraveling crazy, man. Expect the unexpected. Like it was just everything. It was like back to back. We see Lincoln Way is like Lincoln Way's down to Naperville, and Fenwick and Mount Carmel is close. And I'm like, what is going on right now? Glenbard West lost to York.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to their rival. I think York is their rival.
Yeah. So it's just, you mentioned Bradley and Lincoln Way West, and Oak Forest lost to Hillcrest,
a lot.
The season. Yeah, so it was just something, man. It was something in the air, but it was
just played Lemont, blew Lemont out.
Yep.
So
Yep.
It was definitely something in the air this weekend. But I mean, at the same time, right? It's preparing for playoffs, and this is what it's supposed to be like. This is what it's supposed to feel like. You want teams to be, at this point of the season, teams should be playing their best football, in preparation for the state playoffs. So when we really think about it in hindsight, it's like, it should be this way. It should be this crazy. teams should be playing their best, especially if they're healthy. But some teams aren't healthy. I know I mentioned Lincoln Way East losing to Naperville North, but Jonas Williams wasn't taking the snaps that game. He's injured. I think I read something, was Jacob Alexander injured too as
I'm not
well?
sure if he was injured, but he wasn't playing, so I would
He
assume
wasn't
that, yeah,
playing?
it's probably an injury there as well.
Yeah, still. But even when you mentioned the Mount Carmel versus Fenwick game, that was a close game, and Mount Carmel was at home. And Fenwick, that's their second loss of the season, but sounds like they could have won that game.
Yeah, and
So
just
it
think their 2 losses are to 2 of the top teams in the state, Montini
Martini,
and Mount Carmel, so it's like that they're legit, you know?
100%, man. Like I said, it is the point of the season where hopefully the mistakes that you were making week 1, it's not the same mistakes that you're making week 8. Hopefully the mistakes that you're making in week 8 are very, very limited, because as I said, next week is week 9 and the week after that is the state playoffs, and you want to be not peaking at this time, but you want to be getting to full swing and hitting a hot streak and being on a run, and hopefully you can ride a wave all the way to the state championship. So, but let's get into the Morgan Park versus Kenwood game. This is a game we made predictions about last week. I had picked Morgan Park to win the game. I kind of said Morgan Park will win the game if they play their best game, but if they have, mistakes and things like that, they'll probably lose that game to Kenwood, because Kenwood is a team that I believe could capitalize off of mistakes. And from what it seemed, I heard from UFA and from everybody else that was at the game, that's kind of what they did in order to win the game. They kept fighting, and they was able to capitalize off of a few mistakes, and eventually it turned into a late game touchdown pass from Keontae Lewis to, I can't remember the receiver, but
Lawrence
Kenwood,
Carr. Wait, no, it wasn't Lawrence Carr. It was let's see, it was Kingston Watson.
yeah, and they ended up winning that game. A close one too. How you feeling about that matchup, FA? Because I know you had Kenwood winning that game.
Yeah, man. I love that game, and that's what I was. All in all, I was saying that I hope that this is a game that we remember as one of the best CPL games that we've seen. I wanted it to be close. I wanted it to be a dogfight. I didn't want to see a blowout, because I don't think a blowout is good for CPL football. Like, at the end of the day, like, if we want CPL to get back to a certain level, multiple teams have to be competitive. They don't get there by one team dominating everybody. So if you have a year where Morgan Park may be the best, or Kenwood may be the best, or Whitney Young may be the best, or now King is on the rise, so they enter this conversation, just a lot of different teams competing for the top spot, is much more competitive, and it prepares everybody to make their run in the playoffs, So I love the game. I love the competitiveness. I love how close it was, came down to the wire. It was everything that I expected it to be completely honest. It was a great CPL matchup.
I said this last week as well, and I truly believed it, and it turned out sometimes the things that we be saying, it's on par to what we see in our analysis of it, right? Analysis of the teams. And I said that going into last year's game between Morgan Park and Kenwood, it was probably a little easier to decide who's going to win that game before the game even happened, right? And Morgan Park won that game 20-0. This year, I said it. It's going to be a completely different game than last year. We've been watching Kenwood all season. Kenwood has been playing phenomenal football. If they make if some different things happen week 1, they could still be sitting here undefeated.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I don't know who they're playing next week, but going into week 9, I would assume they'll win that game if it's going to be another CPS team. And then look at them. They're essentially could potentially have the same record Morgan Park had last year going into the state playoffs. And Kenwood is a team that hasn't been a part of the Associated Press's 7A class rankings, but they're probably one of the teams that we need to be eyeing in the 7A as well for the state playoffs, because they have been balling and they've been competing with the best teams. I mean, they played St. Francis week 1. They lost the game, which is a game I know they want to have back and they should have won, but they competed. They just played the top team and dethroned the kings of the city, essentially, in Morgan Park. competed, though. And not only competing, they finished. They were down majority of that game.
They were down, what was it, 22 to
20
14?
22 to
22
14
to
is, I
14 at
believe,
the
what I
half.
saw. Yeah,
Yep,
so
22-14
they were
at the half.
down majority of that game, and what they did was finish. They finished. And that's something that you want to see from your team, as I said, going into the state playoffs. Obviously, we have one more week left, but then the following week, you don't get a chance to lose ever again. You either win all the way out, ride that way to a state championship, or you lose and you go home. And one of the things that we've seen Kenwood do this whole season is that they battle and they fight all through the game. And that's exactly what they did against Morgan Park. And then on top of that, you said it last week as well, FA. They, as far as production, let's make that clear. As far as production this season, Kenwood has the best player on the field in Keontae Lewis. And you said that. And that turned out to be the difference maker in the game. Was their best player on the field. And the best player on the field in Keontae Lewis has the ball 90% of the time. And when you can trust your best player to win, now I wouldn't say, obviously it's a team sport, right? But when you can trust him to manage the game and essentially help with leading it to a dub for your team, that's more power to you. And that's also something that you want to see from your team and your star player going into the state playoffs. That they can be in situations of what we want to call adversity, and they can overcome that adversity and move on to next week with getting the dub, especially in the state playoffs. So, man, I knew it would be a different game this year, and it seemed like we were on par with what we said.
Yeah.
But this is Morgan. But at the same time, Morgan Park, you was telling me about it, and I'm going to have you elaborate on it a little bit. You mentioned that you felt it was more so Morgan Park losing the game and then Kenwood capitalizing off of those mistakes from Morgan Park to win that game. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so even starting the game, like right out the gate, flea flicker play, 50-yard coming out explosive from Morgan Park. They get in scoring range and they didn't execute there in the red zone. And then in addition to the red zone mishaps, also penalties as well. I believe they in that first series they had a 4th and 5 and got a penalty, and it made it a 4th and 10 that they had to convert on to try to score. They don't capitalize, turnover on down, and then Kenwood gets the ball back. So I think it was a lot of that where it was, I believe 3 times that Morgan Park is in scoring range. The first time in the first quarter, first possession, their first series coming in like out of the half. So the beginning of the third quarter, they don't execute, and there was another one. But yeah, that played a big part because, I mean, you score on all of those trips down in the red zone, it's a completely different game, especially in the first half. So you're up 2 more scores than you originally were. They had a special teams mishap, a fumble punt, snap, which gave Kenwood great field position, which led into the score where they tied the game up. So yeah, like I said, a lot of mistakes from Morgan Park, but I want to credit the Kenwood defense because they shut Morgan Park out in the second half and they gave their best player an opportunity to do what he does. So I know that there's always a conversation about does defense win championships, and you know how I am. I'm super biased to the offense, and I'll say the defense gave the offense a chance to win this game. You know what I mean? So big credit to the Kenwood defense. And I know a lot of people were upset at my take on saying that Keontae is the best player on the field in terms of production. And I think this game showed that because they got put in a lot of situations where it may have been 3rd and long and they needed to convert, or they just needed a big play to keep a drive going. And he was able to do that, whether it be rushing or throwing the ball. So he really kept them in this game. And then their receivers as well, Kingston Watson that we mentioned that had the game winner, Lawrence Carr had 5 catches for 95 yards. Javon Anderson had a 1-yard touchdown. He was also playing great defensively. But Lawrence Carr had a big time play right before the half. And that's another thing. They gave up that big shot down the field, and it put them in scoring range right before the half, and they were able to score. So it's like if you stop them from scoring before the half, it's just a lot of moments in that game where it's like Morgan Park just gave up too many plays and made too many mistakes, and Kenwood was able to capitalize on it. So yeah, I mean, it was a great, great game from Kenwood, and they showed a lot of fight and finishing. I remember last year that's something that was our knock to Kenwood is like they had about 3 or 4 games that they lost by 5 points or less, and it's like they just got to shut the door. And in this case, they did finish, and they finished strong. So I mean, it's a great. They took that game. Kenwood took the game away from Morgan Park, and I promise you, Morgan Park had this game in their hands, and they could have extended the lead multiple times and shut the door, but Kenwood just continued to fight, bro. They just did not give up. So, man, yeah, it was a great game though, but ultimately, like Kenwood's defense in the second half was shut down, and Kenyante did what Kenyante does. And I think after this, there is no more discussion. There's nothing anybody can say about the production and the talent of this young quarterback, man. Like he got it. And that's one thing that I said is like, how much can Morgan Park's defense contain Kenyante? Because there is no stopping somebody of his caliber. You don't stop athletes that great. You can only contain. I mean, he did what he does. 14 for 20, 201 yards, 1 touchdown. They did force a turnover, 1 interception, but he also had 21 carries for 63 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. I mean, it's fitting. And I said that, like, they've been doing this all season, and I don't see that stopping now. You know, so great game. And yeah, we was pretty much spot on, bro. You know, we was pretty much spot on in how we called this game, you know.
Yep, definitely was spot on. And just to reiterate this is Morgan Park's first loss to a CPL team since the 2022 season, where they fell to Simeon, looking at the score 42-22. So, Morgan Park, I mean, obviously it's a loss, and you don't want to lose to any team, really, right? And especially in a team that you would consider one of your rivals, outside of Simeon. But this was a long streak that they had, man. I think when we was talking about it last episode, I don't have the exact number, but they were on a 21, 22, 20-plus win streak, like 20-plus game win streak against the Chicago Public League, and Kenwood snaps that streak. But they still have Simeon next week for the Battle of Vincennes, and then definitely they have the state playoffs after that. So, but even when we talk about Morgan Park, I want to bring us back to them, because one thing we were talking about last week as well is that quarterback position. And you watched a lot of the game, and the one thing that you mentioned is that you saw RJ look a lot more comfortable in the pocket versus how he looked at the beginning of the season. It's like, for one, he went 13 for 20, 199 yards. It looks like he connected with Nazir Rakin with 7 targets, 7 catches, 132 yards. Looks like that's his main playmaker. And obviously, you know, that was a thing we talked about a lot as far as getting Nas, your Morgan Park's best player, the ball. And it seems like they figured out a way to do that. I want to hear your thoughts on the breakdown between just RJ Smith and his development, just as, you know, really being a young quarterback. He's a sophomore, but like you said, like, he looks way better than the start of the season, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. RJ Ronald Smith is somebody that we were introduced to early on. Him being the 8th grader, playing for Robbins Eagles, he really stood out on that level so much that it got our attention, and we wanted to reach out. Just, you know, physically, the plays that he was making on cam, I'm like, bro, we gotta reach out to him to figure out, like, you know, who this kid is and what his future is, and all that stuff. So, you know, figured out he was going to Morgan Park eventually, and I'm like, okay, Morgan Park has their guy. And I think that was the expectation for them as well, and everybody else, given how talented he was, you know, as a middle school athlete. And so I think that the pressure was really on for him, because Marcus Thaxton doing what he did at Morgan Park, like, you have to fill that role, and that's what they expected from him. So I think there was a lot of pressure on RJ coming into this whole situation, and I think it was shaky in the beginning for him, and he's now finding his footing, and I love to see that. You know what I mean? mean? So seeing him in this game, he looked the most poised. He looked the most confident. You know, he handled the pressure well. And this is a high pressure situation. You're going into a game where you're about to play the best Kenwood team that you've seen in years. And, you know, this is your first time in that type of environment. The crowds were large. The band was there. And, you know, everybody's watching. We really hyped this game up. So I was telling, you know, the Morgan Park coaches, I want to see how he responds to this. Like, I'm curious to see what he does with this moment, because this is his moment where he's either going to solidify himself as that guy, or it's kind of just going to fade out and fold to the pressure. And he honestly did not fold. And I know that the Morgan Park coaches are happy with the way he performed in this situation. I love the way he performed in this situation. And Morgan Park has their quarterback of the future. Like, he looked like that. Like, okay, Ronald Smith is here and he's here to stay, you know? So I'm only looking forward to his development going forward. Still 2 years left, and you have all of this experience. You got to play against DGN. You got to play against Nas. Now playing against this great Kenwood team. You got to see Simeon next week, and I don't think we should be looking past Simeon either, because this is going to be that environment times two, because this is the battle of Vincennes. Like, this is going to be another big game. I think I saw that AJ Green is pulling up. I saw Coach...
he going to pull up again?
Yeah, I saw Coach James put something on the story that saying he going to pull up again. So now another situation where a national spotlight is on you. And like, so how are you going to perform? But man, Ronald is going to be one of those guys in the next 2 years. He's going to be one of those guys. And that's what we said when we first interviewed, when we had him and his dad on the podcast. So I was extremely happy to see how he performed in this high pressure situation. So man, shout out RJ, and keep balling, keep developing. You know, a lot of people get lost in that development process and thinking like, hey, this kid needs to be what Marcus was in his senior year as soon as he steps into the program. Like, no, you know, it's learning. You know, you got to learn. You got to go through these experiences and these processes. And I see the extra work that he puts in. His dad puts it on his story, how much extra work he puts in, whether it be at home lifting weights or somewhere on Sunday getting training in. I'm not sure who he trains with. I believe it may be Next Level. I'm not sure. But yeah, just him putting in that constant work to be great. And you need that work ethic to be able to be the athlete that you want to become. You know, the quarterbacks that you want to become. So yeah, man, I really want to give a big shout out to Ronald, because he did his thing. Like, he really held his own in that game for sure. Some things you want to get back, obviously, but you see the potential, you see the upside for sure.
Yeah, and definitely shout out to the coaches too, because I mean, a big part of a player's development is how much a coach is helping with that development. And RJ is a young player, sophomore, starting for a program like Morgan Park. That won't be easy for anyone. That won't be easy for anyone. So to see his progression, for sure, that's a good thing to see for sure. Another player I want to shout out on the Morgan Park side was, because I know we talked about Nazir Rankin with 7 catches, 132 yards. But Reggie Gray, the running back, had 16 carries, 64 yards, 3 rushing TDs. Pretty much carried the offense early. So shout out to him as well. I mean, it seems like, although they did lose this game to Kenwood, they are what we said any team should be doing at this time of the season. It looks like they're getting it together. They get their offense together. They have a rushing game. They have a passing game now too, and they have their quarterback of the future. Obviously, you lose to a team like Kenwood, and they're going to have another team that's going to test them for sure next week in the Simeon team. But this is what you want before the playoffs, because at the end of the day, if you can get into the playoffs, I know you want to have more wins and be a higher seed so you don't have to have a tough matchup early on, but you essentially want to get into the playoffs and be battle tested and go through adversity before the playoffs, before you're actually there. So that way, when you get into these scenarios in those high pressure moments, you're prepared for it. And I'm pretty sure this is the reason why they probably set up their schedule like this too, because they didn't play Kenwood and Simeon back to back last year. You know what I mean? They played Kenwood early in the season, then they played Simeon at the end of the season, and Simeon was a blowout for them last year along with Kenwood. But the fact that now that they're playing 2 teams that's essentially the best 2 teams that they're going to play in the Chicago Public League, right? They play them back to back, and then also just the environment of the game. You mentioned that the Kenwood environment is a high-profile city Chicago game, and it's a big crowd, and it's a big moment. And it allows the team to prepare to step up in those big moments, and then they get to do that 2 weeks in a row against a Simeon Career Academy for the Battle of Vincennes. And then you got those 2 games going into the playoffs. You're literally preparing your team to be in this pressured moment all the way up into the rest of regular season. We talk about how Morgan Park chose probably the toughest schedule to start the season, and playing DGN first game of the season, and then coming back and playing Nazareth the following week is to get battle tested. And I guarantee you they did this the same way, to play Kenwood and then Simeon back to back to feel that pressure in order to prepare for the playoffs. So as long as they handle business next week, I think either way they'll probably still be in the playoffs, right? Because if they lose next week, they'll be 5-4.
Yeah, so
They're probably still getting the playoffs with a 5-4 record, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's
So
a must. Yeah, it's a must win, man.
every game is a must win at this point. We're in week 9 of the season. Every game is a must win, but it's good to be put through adversity early. I keep saying it. It's good to be put through adversity early and understand the film behind why you all lost the game. Like you said, Morgan Park lost themselves the game. They probably really beat themselves, but Kenwood did a good job of capitalizing on the mistakes and taking that game for themselves to win.
Because
So
Kenwood made a lot of mistakes as well. Like Kenwood made the game harder on themselves as well. So both teams made mistakes. Don't get me wrong, but it comes down to who's able to capitalize off of those mistakes. So yeah, Kenwood just definitely did the better job at that. But yeah, great game.
yeah, but I mean, shout out to both Chicago Public League teams, because I think from a spectator's perspective, obviously we have no dog in this fight. All we can do is talk about it on a podcast like this, make our predictions or whatever, and do our part in making the game, publicizing the game as much as we can. But I'm happy to see that this is exactly what we want from Chicago Public League sports. Not even just Chicago Public League sports, Illinois sports in general. But the fact that I feel like we're helping out making this more of a care to it. Not saying that they need help really to make this more publicized, because these are big time programs in the Chicago Public League, but it turning out to be exactly what we wanted it to be, as far as like this game environment and it being a good game, not being a blowout in comparison to last year or the other years. It's good that Kenwood could come in and dethrone the Kings of the City, because it gives you more things to talk about next year when they play each other, or even going into basketball. You know what I mean? This is what we call great and healthy competition. That's what you need in times especially in times like this, man. Going into the playoffs, you need this great, healthy competition to prepare each other. Because when you got two iron only sharpens iron, and when you got 2 great teams playing each other, going back to back, blow for blow, they both making mistakes, and it turns out that the game could have went any other way. That's what makes a great atmosphere and environment, bro. And I'm just happy that it turned out to be that way. I wish I could have been at the game like I was at the games last year, but it doesn't matter. We got the footage. We're going to be posting a full game highlight very soon, but it turning out to be game of the week, damn near probably game of the year. And because I know we was anticipating Mount Carmel and Brother Rice, but this is a better game environment than that, as far as the outcome of the game and the back and forth. But any last things you want to say about the Morgan Park and Kenwood game?
No, I mean it was, like I said, it's a great game. It turned out exactly how we wanted to. Shout out both teams. I mean, it's one game, for MP, so you got another game coming up, and you got playoffs, so it's nothing. You don't really have time to dwell on the loss. Yes, a loss. The streak was snapped, but at the end of the day, it's a part of the season. Like, of course, you want to keep it going, but playoffs are coming up, so you got more important things to worry about. But I think they, it's some things that they could take away from that game to improve on and get ready for the postseason. So great game, and I can't wait to see Simeon and Morgan Park next week. I think it's just gonna be just as good. This is gonna be just as good, because Mikael Blade is back. I think he came back the Westinghouse game, and I've been seeing clips of him making plays. So it's gonna be a battle. So I'm excited to see that one.
I'll go public league football. What a way to end the season, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely we're gonna be getting some coverage of the Simeon versus Morgan Park game for the Battle of Vincennes next week. And then after that, we got state playoffs, man. So I can't wait. I always love this part of the season because the weather's changing, teams are playing their best football, and state playoffs is right there around the corner. Pretty much what? Less than a week away.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the playoff parent show is less than a week away. But for some teams, the playoffs have already started already. And I think for Morgan Park, the playoffs, every team at this point, playoffs has already started because you don't just take no weeks off at this point. You got to ride this wave all the way up to a state championship. But as we mentioned, Morgan Park will be playing Simeon next week, and we'll be looking out for that one too. Next game want to get into is the Mount Carmel versus Fenwick game. Mount Carmel ended up beating Fenwick 35-28. So it was definitely a closer game than the Brother Rice game. But Fenwick gave Mount Carmel a scare for their money, bro.
Definitely, bro.
That could have easily been a loss. I didn't watch the game, so I don't know what it was, but what went into it. But it seemed like Fenwick probably played their best football, and Mount Carmel may have didn't play their best football at all, and it's probably something a little scary to see coming in week 8. But a dub is a dub at the end of the day, and what the great teams do, they always find a way to win, and they definitely found a way to win that game against Fenwick.
Yeah, definitely. I was not expecting that outcome at all. I don't think many people were probably thinking a blowout, but as we talked about Fenwick being one of those top 10 teams, they've been playing well. I mean, they only have 2 losses as I mentioned earlier, and one being to Montini and the other being to Mount Carmel, and both games were close. You know, they only Montini beat them 31-28. You know, so that was a close game, and now Mount Carmel 35-28. So close games for both of them. And yeah, Fenwick's they're doing their thing, bro. We talked a lot about Tommy and Jake Dees and how well they're playing. So hey, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised though, just for how well they've played the top competition. So I mean, hey, a scare for Mount Carmel, but they still came out with the dub. So, you know, it's just one of those things where it just probably, you know, it wasn't their night. They made mistakes. I saw, you know, some highlights where, you know, they're forcing Mount Carmel to turnovers as Fenwick is, you know, pick sixes. So Fenwick was just balling. And any given night you could lose. You know, there's no guarantees in this. So yeah, shout out to Fenwick, and they are going to be a team to watch. And Fenwick is in 6A. So that's interesting. 6A is going to be interesting with East St. Louis and Fenwick, and yeah, the AP polls has Fenwick ranks 6A, right?
You know, yeah, I think so. But let me look up something.
But like you
Yeah,
said, it could
yeah,
switch. It could switch. So
it can
just
switch,
from
and
the
they could
AP
potentially be
polls.
in 7A.
Okay.
I think I saw something. Let me look at. So Matt just posted the playoff parent show, but it's also something else on the IHSA website where you can kind of track. You can kind of track where everybody will end up at. It's just, hold on, let me find this here. Playoff outlook right here. So if I click on 6A, as of right now, Fenwick it's looking like they're pacing to be a 10th seed in 6A right now. So yeah,
10th
6A.
seed?
Yeah, so that's what I'm looking at right now. They're ranked, I'm sorry, not 10th seed. They look to be, I'll treat this like college basketball. My bad, bro. 10th ranked team though in
Okay.
6A.
10th
Because I
ranked
don't know how they do
team.
the brackets. Do they break it out like 2 sides of the brackets or
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah, for 6A
But
they will.
but they looking to be the 10th ranked team in 6A.
That's interesting. Cause I don't think it's that many teams that are better
Well,
than
if we're looking at this, right, so I'm looking at it on the IHSA website, right? At number 1, they have Glenwood. Glenwood is 8-0 right now. I have to look more at Glenwood's record to see who they actually played. And then we have Wakanda 8-0. I don't know too much about Wakanda. Riverside, Brookfield 8-0. And then we come down and we see Nazareth with 1 loss, Washington with 1 loss, Central High School with 1 loss, Oak Lawn, with 1 loss, 7-1. Oak Forest. Oak Forest could potentially be in 6A. It's showing Oak Forest right now that if the season was to end today, they would be the 8th place ranked in 6A.
So
Sitting
wait,
at 7-1.
where is East St. Louis at?
He's saying, ooh, I don't even see East St. Louis. Okay, so this can't be as accurate if it's on the
Yeah,
website because I don't
yeah.
see East St. Louis.
That's what I'm wondering because you saying that they're 10th ranked
Oh,
in
12.
impossible. That's got to be off. That's got to be off.
No, but here's the thing. I think they do it based. So here's the thing, right? Associated Press's ranking is like a voting coaches poll, I believe.
Right.
This, on the other hand, though, I think it's more dependent on record. Has to be if they got East St. Louis at 12th right now in 6A.
So is it not factoring in strength of schedule?
I think it factors probably that in on a tiebreaker. I think it would probably factor that in on a tiebreaker.
That is insane.
I'm pretty sure they'll break that down a lot more during the playoff parent show, so I don't want to speak too ill about this, but I'm only going off based off what I see in front of me right here on the IHSA website, and it's the playoff outlook. If anybody wants to check it out on the IHSA website, it's the football playoff outlook under the football sport state series. Yeah. East St. Louis is looking to be sitting as the 12th ranked team if the season was to end today because their record is 6-2. So it looks like they're ranking these teams based on their record for sure. Yeah. But we all know if East St. Louis is in a 12th spot when the season ends, I feel sorry for who has to play them week 1.
It's probably gonna have to be like a NAS or something. Like that's gonna be like that.
No, because NAS is 4th.
Oh, they're. Oh no, they gonna have that. Can't be the right thing.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Crete is sitting right under them at 13. Then Dunlap is at 14. Normal West is at 15. It looks like a total of was it 32 teams make it into the bracket? I don't know, but this is what it's showing at right now.
Okay.
And like I said, we don't officially know where everybody's going to be at until the actual playoff parent show, but this is an outlook of it. So even though the Associated Press has them at number 1 because everybody knows East St. Louis number 1 team in 6A, no disrespect to anybody else. I'm sorry, but they're different. They played teams out of state the first 2 games of the season and they lost, but they competed. Now that they've been back in Illinois, they've been blowing every team out. So
not even close. And then they play IMG next week, so it's like,
and that's gonna be that's a perfect game for them to play before going into the playoffs, so they can easily be battle tested and then do the same thing that they did when they played these other teams out of state early in the season and come back and play an Illinois team and blow them out. So don't be surprised if East St. Louis is going through the 6A playoffs, blowing every team out.
I think
because they've blown every team out in Illinois that they played this year.
Yeah, bro. I don't see anybody challenging East St. Louis in 6A. I'm sorry. I think this I'm not gonna say it like that, but I'm gonna just say that I don't think they'll be challenged much, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see though.
Yeah,
we'll see. Like I said, anything can happen, and as we know, injuries are a part of the game.
Yeah.
So injuries, a major injury to one of your players on the team could easily change the whole course of your season. So anything can happen, but a healthy East St. Louis team for sure. We've been saying it all season. 6A shut it down, and that is our favorite to win 6A. But I want to go back to some of the games that happened this week because I feel like we're jumping a little bit too far ahead. And one game I want to talk about is the Bradley-Bourbonnais game versus Lincoln Way West because this makes that conference, the Southwest Valley Red Conference, very, very interesting right now. So Bradley-Bourbonnais is a team we've been following most of the season with that Bad Boys defense, and we followed them when they played Lincoln Way Central, and they lost to Lincoln Way Central in a close one. But the thing that's a little entertaining or interesting here, right? Lincoln Way Central, Bradley-Bourbonnais, and Lincoln Way West are all currently tied, or it looks like they're 1, 2, and 3 for conference, but I'm pretty sure with their record all being 4-1 in conference, it looks like any of them could tie to win. How does that work? Could they tie to win conference, or
a team could tie to win? They could tie.
Could it be a 3-way tie?
I mean, I think it could
because they all played each other already. So, for example, Lincoln Way West, Lincoln Way Central played each other early in the season. Lincoln Way West was victorious in that game in a close one, but then Bradley-Bourbonnais played Lincoln Way Central and they lost in that game in a close one. But then Bradley-Bourbonnais played Lincoln Way West this past week, and they won big. So who would that go to?
I
If
guess
they if they all win their last game of the
their
season.
last game, then I think it'll be a 3-way tie.
Yeah, and then a more interesting thing, right? So they're all in the same conference, right? And it seems like they're all going to finish the season with pretty much the same record. They're all sitting at 7-1. What's interesting is that if we bring it to the state playoffs in 7A, right now, if we're looking at Lincoln Way West, they're sitting as ranked 8th. Lincoln Way Central is ranked 10th, and Bradley-Bourbonnais is ranked 3. So we could potentially see another matchup between these teams again in the state playoff if things align a certain way.
Yeah.
This is what Illinois high school football is, bro.
Yeah,
And that's dope. That is very entertaining. Like, we talk about 7A being probably the most entertaining class. And with this happening the way it's happening, where obviously we talk about Brother Rice and we talk about other teams, right? But the way that 3 teams from the same conference can end up in the same class and could potentially play each other for a second time in the season, that is going to make that class way more entertaining as well. So high school football, Illinois high school football is great. It's up there, y'all. You gotta love it, bro. You gotta love it. But any remarks you want to make about the Lincoln Way West versus Bradley-Bourbonnais game?
I mean, it was one that Bradley needed to win. If you're talking about contention and a playoff run, like that is like the notable win that you needed. You needed that quality win because you already lost to Lincoln Way Central, a game that was a rematch that you wanted to get back, and now Lincoln Way West is the chance for you to show that okay, we're legit. And they were undefeated, so I feel like they be a better team. So that's a great quality win for them, and they're eyeing to get to the state championship. They came up short last year to Lincoln Way Central, but hey, I mean 7-1, and they've been rolling all season. So yeah, that's a great win for Bradley, man. It's super interesting how this unfolded in this conference, and I love the potential for rematch. So we'll probably at least see one for sure, one rematch, whether it be the Lincoln Ways or Bradley in one of the Lincoln Ways. We're gonna see it. So, hey.
Yeah, I think so. And they had a convincing win as well.
Yeah,
I mean, 35 to what, 13? Yeah, 35 to 13. That's a pretty convincing statement win, and especially late in the season in preparation for the playoffs. But we're definitely going to be eyeing those teams. I mean, Lincoln Way West, Lincoln Way Central, Bradley-Bourbonnais. That's going to be. I can't wait to see what they all do in the playoffs, and I hope we do get to see them at least one of them match up again in the playoffs for sure. Another couple games I just wanted to mention. Hillcrest hands Oak Forest their first loss, 34-8.
34-8, bro.
I wonder what happened there.
I don't know, man. Hillcrest, they explosive. Like, they could do that. Like I guess we weren't expecting it. Hillcrest is 4-4 right now, so they're fighting for a playoff spot. But that's the thing; it's dangerous playing these teams who like have must-win games. Like, in order for us to get to the playoffs, we have to win. So they coming out with a different hunger. Oak Forest, they've already clinched their playoff spot. So it's like you kind of go in, on autopilot, kind of like we've been rolling all season, beating these teams, and you get to Hillcrest where it's like they haven't been super strong this season, and you come out and you get smacked 34-8. It keeps Hillcrest's playoff chances alive, and I guess it's a wake up call to Oak Forest right before the playoffs. Like, hey, y'all gotta lock in. You got yeah, it happens that way. It happens that way. Kind of that same thing with Bradley and Lincoln Way West. I mean, they're undefeated, and teams who have something to lose and really want to fight for a certain spot. It could happen that way. So, hey, great win for Hillcrest, a team that we haven't talked a lot about this season at all. But yeah, that's a great statement win for the SSC Blue.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of the SSC Blue, right? So this is Oak Forest's first loss in conference, and then they play Lemont next week. With them only having one loss in conference, and Lemont is still undefeated in conference at 5-0. At least on this side of the conference, the blue side of the conference, they're undefeated. So Oak Forest still has the potential to go into this game and spoil Lamont's conference championship. Well, I don't know if you spoil because they end up in a tie probably, right? Because they had the same record. I really need to understand how that works if they have the same record in conference or whatever. But still, they have a big matchup next week before the state playoffs in a notoriously very good Lemont team. So still, one loss is only one loss, and you can obviously bounce back next week with a win with against Lemont, and then go into the playoffs, with your heads held high and potentially a conference championship as well, or at least tie for conference. But Oak Forest, man, I mean, big loss, but still, a lot more season left, especially with the playoffs being right around the corner. Another game, team that we've been talking about that is a different team this year got spanked, and that is Loyola Academy Ramblers getting defeated by Carmel, 42-14. Trey Taylor, I saw a picture of him like ripping like a Loyola shirt or something. That was pretty funny, or a video, I mean. Uh, the season, although we're gonna get to Carmel as well as like they've been playing good football, but Loyola on the other hand, their season is. Do they make the playoffs this year with having to play Mount Carmel next week?
I really don't know. And that was a question that I asked you, like, do they still need to at least win 5 games even though they didn't play a second week, you know?
I would think so, because
Yeah.
think about it like this, right? If where are they sitting at right now?
You
Let me
said
look it
what?
up real quick. Where are they sitting at right now? Four, three losses or 4 losses?
You see. 4-3.
So they're 4-3. That's a good question there,
Yeah, 4-3.
because if they end the season 4-4, the 4 losses, if they play the extra game, they will have 5 wins. But I'm not sure. I would think though. I would think they would not get in. I would have to think they won't get in because they don't have that 5 wins.
Yeah.
And does
I
5 wins guarantee you a playoff spot?
I don't think it necessarily guarantees you a playoff spot.
Yeah, so I would think so. I mean, it's unfortunate that they didn't play a game week 2, so they have one less game. But as far as win percentage go, y'all sitting at 500, or yeah, y'all would be sitting at 500 if they lose to Mount Carmel,
Yeah.
which I think they will.
Yeah.
But great win for Carmel. I mean, but Loyola, I mean, we said it last week. Their playoffs started last week,
Yeah, it did.
and getting the loss to Carmel, a very good team, but it's just tough that they didn't play a week 2 game, and now they're sitting with 3 losses and only going to have 8 games played this season, though. But what are your remarks on that Carmel versus Loyola game?
I mean, Carmel has been playing well. They have arguably one of the not even arguably, they have one of the top quarterbacks in the country, great receiving core, and they've been balling this season, 6-2, got some big time wins, and like they're playing well. They're playing well. They're looking to make a run this year, and I mean Loyola is they're in a rebuild. I don't remember the last time, and we haven't researched it, but they lose 2 games in a row, and you lose into teams that you wouldn't typically lose to, and now even going into the Mount Carmel game, I think this is probably the least interested the state is probably in a Mount Carmel Loyola game in a while. But who knows? It's still they still got to show up. And Mount Carmel just had a close one with Fenwick. So as you can see, I mean, any night it can be any given team's, night. So they just need to get through next week. And they just got to play hard. Obviously, what's on the line. Will they make it? Will they not? I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out for them. But it is like if you want any fighting chance of there even being a conversation about making the playoffs, they have to go out and try to beat Mount Carmel, which seems very unlikely at this point in the season, given how both teams are playing and Loyola being young and they're obviously in a rebuild and they got work to do. So I mean, it is what it is. It happens that way. A swing of events. Like you go from competing and winning 3 straight, and we consider like thinking about, okay, could they win 4, to not even making the playoffs potentially. So that's football, that's sports. 1 year can change a lot of things. So I mean, you know,
That's been the story of the season, right?
yeah,
1 year has changed a lot of things.
yeah.
But all Loyola can do at this point is control what they can control, and everything else is up to the powers that be, right? But what they can do, like you said, is go into this game and try to get a dub against Mount Carmel, and then as the dice roll and they make the playoffs or not, that helps their chances, right? So, but definitely wishing them luck against Mount Carmel. They're playing them at home, so there's a fighting chance for sure. And Mount Carmel just played a close game against Fenwick, so it shows that Mount Carmel, although we talk highly of them and the talent on their team and roster, they can be beaten. They haven't been beaten yet, but they can be. And if Loyola plays their best game and maybe they may catch Mount Carmel on a bad day, anything can happen, right? So, but that's a matchup. That's a big matchup next week for them, and they definitely got to come out with a win with that one. Couple other games. There's a lot of games that are happening, bro.
Yeah.
I'm still looking at this. Jeez Louise. Here, let's do Naperville North versus Lincoln Way East.
All right.
Lincoln Way East loses to Naperville North 14-6. As we mentioned earlier, Jonas Williams was not playing, but that also makes that conference way more interesting as well, because now Sandburg got a win last week, but they go into Lincoln Way East this Thursday, and they could potentially still, I think, battle for a conference championship now. Hey, man, do we know football or what? Bro, because we were talking about this at the beginning of the season that Sandburg could potentially be playing for a conference championship going into week 9. Let me pull this up real quick to make sure that they are still able to play for a conference championship. But I think they would because Naperville North beat both of them. But I think Naperville North has some losses in conference. So let's look at this real quick. If I go to their conference, yeah, Sandburg is currently sitting number 1 in conference.
That might be off.
That has to be off
because they're not 3-0.
Oh, you looking at it right now too?
Yeah, they lost to Lockport and they lost to Naperville.
Yeah.
So no, they're not 3-0 for sure.
But they still have 1 loss in conference.
Yeah.
Right? Wait, hold on.
Wait, no, Sandburg has more than 1. They have
2 losses.
Yeah, Lockport and
Oh, so you know what it is? They can still hand Lincoln Way East their second loss, which will make it like a 3-way tie probably. Between Naperville North.
2 losses.
Yeah, so Naperville North has 2, Lincoln Way East has 1, Sandburg has. Come on, Max Preps, what are you doing? But yeah, Sandburg has 2 losses. But if they hand Lincoln Way East a loss, I'm pretty sure that would make it a 3-way tie for a conference, right? It has to work out that way, right? A 3-way tie.
And then considering Naperville North wins their last game as well.
Yeah, that as well. So all Sandburg can do is really control the win against Lincoln Way East. And do we know if Jonas is playing in that game?
There hasn't been any reports out talking about Jonas or his injury, why he didn't play. So I'm not sure, but my guess will be no. My guess will be no, regardless, because you getting ready for the playoffs. Like it means nothing. In the end goal, this means nothing. Even this loss right here is like, okay, you lost, you have a loss on your record. Who cares? We know Jonas didn't play, so that's the biggest difference. And you want to make sure whatever's going on with Jonas, you give him proper time to heal. And honestly, depending on who you play round 1, you may not see him. It's potential. So, I mean, if he really has to play, I think he will have to. But like I said, we don't know what's going on with Jonas and what his exact injury is. So, but yeah, in terms of the playoffs and the state championship, even if you drop these next 2 games, it's still Lincoln Way East, and they're competing to get to a certain place. So you need to rest the guys that are going to get you there. So 2 losses, I'll sacrifice 2 losses on our record if it means, our guys get the heal up and we get ready to make this run. So that's what a lot of people aren't really thinking about.
Yeah, I heard. I'm not gonna probably mention it on the podcast, but I heard. I don't even know if it's true. That's probably the biggest reason why I'm not gonna mention it. But I heard some things about his injury that I don't know if it's true. But I'm very curious to know what that injury is, because, I mean, at the end of the day, you don't need to suit up if it's not that major, right? Because you are preparing for the playoffs. But I mean, if he doesn't suit up next week, that's an opportunity for Sandberg to, get a conference championship and Coach Schmertz's first season as head coach of Sandberg. But that conference is very interesting now, and Naperville North seems to be getting hot at a certain point of the season, and they're probably going to make a playoff push for sure. And this is what we love about high school football, especially this late in the season. You never know what could happen, especially this late in the season. Another matchup. Oh, my bad. Did you want to say anything else
No,
about
no, no.
Naperville North?
No, you good. You good.
Okay, another matchup we were watching this week was a big rivalry game between York and Glenbard West, and York defeats Glenbard West 21-20, handing Glenbard West their first loss of the season. I know that's tough to have your first loss of the season to your rival school.
Man.
But what are your remarks on that game?
Some, like we said, some was in the air this weekend, bro. And that was one game, again, wasn't expecting that. Glenbard West has been playing extremely well this whole season. They were rolling, one of the top teams in 8A, and then just not expecting that loss to York, even though York is playing well. And let's not forget, York played in the state championship last year, so, we can't totally look past York, but 6-2 got some big time wins. I think that Downers Grove North was probably the best team that they played up until Glenbard West, and they got blown out 41-28, and and Owen Lansu's return. But you go into Glenbard, beat them 21-20. Now you're back in the conversation just like that. Something to consider. They're going to be in 8A again this year?
I believe so. Let me check. So if I'm looking at the IHSA website, because I want to follow this playoff tracker thing, it looks like York will be at 8A. If the season was to end today, they'd be ranked 14th in 8A.
Okay, so yeah, that's great for them. And then they still have another big game this week, in the last week with Lions, who is also 6-2, and that could be interesting. So yeah, a great win for York.
Didn't Lions just get an impressive win as well? Oh,
Lions beat
yeah,
down,
against
Downers
DGN.
Grove
Oh
North,
my
24 to.
gosh,
Bro, wait, I didn't even I didn't
this
even
is
know,
nuts,
bro.
bro.
I didn't
Hold
even know
on,
they
wait.
beat
Let's
DGN,
let's
bro.
let's let's back up real quick. Let's back up a little bit, bro. Hold on. All right. So we talked about York just giving Glenbard West their first loss, right? But then a little bit before that, you mentioned that York played Downers Grove North, and they got blown out by Downers Grove North.
Yeah.
And then Lyons Township
Beat Downers Grove North 24-0.
24-20.
Oh, 24, yeah, 24-20.
24-20. That is nuts. Are they all? They're all not in the same conference, though, right?
No,
check.
I don't. Lions is not.
They are.
Lions
they are
is
in the
their
same.
conference?
Yes. Oh my gosh. They're in the West Suburban Silver, based on Max Preps. This is nuts, bro. So if you think about it like this, right? York beat Glenbard West. Did Glenbard West play DGN yet?
Yeah, earlier in the season, remember Glenbard West beat them. Glenbard West beat DGN.
Yeah. So Glenbard West beats DGN, but blows out York, and York beats Glenbard West, and then Lyons Township looks like they have 2 losses. So I'm assuming they lost to either Glenbard West or somebody. I have to look at that, but they beat DGN, and now it looks like, well, DGN doesn't look like, and York doesn't. I mean, DGN and Lions doesn't look like they can win conference, but that's interesting, bro. It's crazy how teams just beat up on each other, right?
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's
Absolutely.
supposed to be. So I mean, I don't know. A lot could transpire. Yeah, I don't know.
My bad. 1 second. Yeah, but a lot could transpire at the end of the season, and that's essentially what's supposed to happen. Teams, I keep saying it over and over, but teams should be playing their best football at this part of the season. And just because one team beat another team doesn't mean that you have to lose to that team just because that team beat you. That was a mouthful and it sounded a little bit confusing, but y'all get what I mean if y'all slow it down. But but yeah, man, like you said, Pandemonium, bro. That is nuts. But shout out to York for giving Glenbard West their first loss. And looks like all of these teams are preparing to make some noise in the playoffs for sure. Because it looks like, what's Lions' record? Let me see Lions' record. Because it looks like
6-2.
the top 14, yeah, it looks like 4 of these teams could get into the playoffs. And
Well, they'll all
Lions
get
looks,
in for sure.
yeah, they all get in, but I'm trying to see if they'll all be in the same class real quick. So if we're looking at 8A, right now, Glenbard West is looking to be in 8A. And then we have Lions look to be in 8A. So, and then York looks to be in 8A as
8A.
well. So they could potentially, depending on how the dices roll and fall, play each other. One of these teams could play each other in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Ain't that something?
Crazy.
Yeah. But shout out to York. Y'all, keep balling or whatever. And this pandemonium in the season, man. And one thing you want to do is going into last week of the season is definitely getting the dub. Week 9, don't. It's playoffs for everybody at this time. So everybody needs to go in week 9 getting the dub. But man, it's crazy. It's crazy out here in this fall season right now, bro. Oh, real quick, another few matchups. Get it. Let's talk about it. South Suburban Conference. Richards versus Lemont. Last year we went to the Richards versus Lemont game. It was a pretty close one, but Miles Mitchell kind of was a difference maker in that game with getting some late game touchdowns. But this year, looks like Richards didn't need no Miles Mitchells as they defeat Lemont 54-27. Lemont still is technically undefeated on their side of the conference, so at the same time, it really doesn't matter, but it allows them to be battle tested. But Richards is still one loss this season.
Yeah.
And they're looking to have the similar season they had last year. Richards is balling, bro.
Yep. Other than that, we
Yeah.
lost to Sandberg. I mean, it's kind of like, they found they rhythm, and that's a big win against Lamont. I know for a fact Lamont is the best team that they've played since Sandberg. They've been blowing everybody else out since then, and then add Lamont to that, put up 54 points on Lamont. That's impressive, and they'll be playing Evergreen Park next, and we'll see how that one goes. Evergreen Park is 4-4, so that's probably, looking to have another blowout and go into the playoffs with a lot of momentum. So yeah, and Richards is going to be 6A again this year. Oh, no, 7A. They moved
Richards
up.
petition
They
is one of the
moved up.
teams that petitioned to be 7As.
Mm,
Could be interesting there. How do I feel like they match up against the other teams is debatable.
yeah.
But I don't want to speak too much on it because we only seen Richards play against Crete, really, as far as like watching them play on the game tape. Man, as you know, first game of the season versus week 9 in the playoffs is completely, your team can look night and day. But they only have one loss, and going into the playoffs, they only had one loss. So they're looking to keep it going from last year, and hopefully they do. 7A is an easier class. Ah, damn. Should I have blatantly said it like that?
What?
7A is an easier class than
To
6A
win?
this year.
You could. It's up to you. I don't think it really matters. I don't think
But they're looking to make a run in 7A.
Yeah.
But we'll see where they land. Right now, and I think looking at this, right now, they're sitting, if the season was to end today, they're sitting as the number 1 team in 7A. Sitting at 7-1. So
Wow.
if they win next week, it looks like they're going to be the number 1 team in 7A.
Interesting.
That's going to be nice.
Interesting.
So, but keep balling this season, Richards. We always rooting for our South Suburban Conference boys, even if y'all were on the other side of the conference, doesn't matter. South Suburban teams, love to see them perform well always. Yeah, a lot of the season. Oh, another one you put on here was Bishop McNamara versus Chicago Hope. Was this Bishop McNamara winning 48-20?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Bishop McNamara is also having a good season. I think what class are they falling in this year? They are falling into
3A? 3A
let me
maybe?
check.
I'm sure it's 3A.
Because I don't see them. Let me control F real quick. Mac. 4A. Right
4A?
now, it's based on the playoff outlook, they have them sitting at third ranked team in 4A behind Richland County and Morris. So, it looks like they could potentially be in 4A,
Yeah, man. Now
but they're
for
still
a
undefeated.
yeah, still undefeated, and it had their wins have been by super large margins. I mean, the biggest win margin they've had this season was 75 points against Chicago Christian, who won the state championship last year. So they've been putting up some crazy numbers. I mean, averaging at least 50 points a game. So a team that has turned it around from last year. And they've been balling. They've been hitting us up, saying that we legit, and we've been following, and they just win every game by a large margin. So to go from 4-5 last year, not making the playoffs, to now this season being undefeated and looking to make a real run. And you said they're going to be in 4A after the season ended right now. So make a run in 4A. It'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting.
Yeah, I wonder how accurate this outlook is. I hope it's pretty accurate, but it says this list shows hypothetical classes for the playoffs. If the season had ended last week after 3 weeks, the class cutoffs would have been made as shown below. So yeah, it says, but it also says this list is not a prediction of the final classes and seeds.
Okay.
That's kind of contradicting to each other. Anywho, wherever they land, they look to make a good playoff run for sure because they're still undefeated, and it looks like they could, if trend keeps up the way it's been going for them this season, they're probably going to end their season undefeated on the regular season and then be placed very well in the playoffs. Man, that was a lot
Man,
of things that happened.
it's one more game out there that we not mentioning.
I know what you're talking about.
It's one more
You know
game,
what's crazy, bro? And I don't feel ashamed. TF South versus TF North. That's the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? I can't believe we forgot to promote it or even talk about it.
Yeah.
Who ended up winning that game?
North by a decent margin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe 30 to 12, 30 something to 12 maybe, if I
Let me look
remember
it up real
correctly,
quick.
but we can give the actual score.
Damn. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Never in my life. I was 31 to 12.
31 to
Never in
12.
my life I would, being in high school, while I was in high school, never in my life I would have thought that it would get to a point that this game was never on our mind. Or I wouldn't say never on our mind, but was not on our mind because we got to the game last year, and it was a pretty close game last year, but TF South is really having a tough season this year.
I mean, they've
Their
had
record is, go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead, go ahead.
I said their record is 2-6, but they only have one win in conference. So it's like tough season. But TF North, I mean, they're currently sitting at third in conference, but they don't have a chance to win conference. Because Lemont and Oak Forest play next week, and one of those two teams will be a conference champion. But North is still having a decent season, sitting at 5-3. They have the same record as Lemont. So they're looking to get into the playoffs. Who did they play the last week of the season? It looks like they play Argo. Argo is a team that is that's winless, so they should be able to get a dub against Argo. Is any remarks that you want to give about the TF South versus TF North game?
I mean, it's, being on, from South obviously is like, damn, bro, I think this is what the third year in a row. And, we're not used to that. And when we were playing, it was just like, it was the kind of the South kind of ran it when it came to football, essentially, like losing the North was very rare. When we were there, I've never lost to TF North in football on any level. So,
I plead the fifth. I lost to TF North my senior year off of a
yeah,
last second touchdown. I'm pretty sure that's on Huddle too, but
yeah.
RP to the quarterback. I can't remember his name right now. I think his name was Aaron, but he was the quarterback at the time, and he had like a last late game stunner touchdown to defeat us, and I had an opportunity to make that play. Still have nightmares about it to this day. But but no, it's all good. But yeah, you're right though. I mean, it was really it's definitely in football and even in the other sports though too, with baseball that I played. I never lost to North in baseball, so
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean South is they got some work to do. They got some
Yeah, they
rebuilding
do.
to do. Every time we talk about it, I talk about like they got to get the community back. Like if there's any, solution that I would give, it starts in the community, man. Like you got to get your players back in that building. So it's gonna start with a lot of community work and they're rebuilding. So hopefully, in the next 2 or 3 years, maybe they could get a good class in. I know you mentioned there's a feeder program that's, happening or supposed to be happening.
No, I think they already have it. So it is the Stallion. I want to say it's the not the Lansing Stallions, but the Southtown Stallions.
Okay.
I think is the name of them. Let me look it up real quick so I'm making sure I'm accurate in saying that. Southtown Stallion or Southland Stallions or
Okay.
something. Um the Southtown Stallions, it looks like. Um yes. Southtown Stallions. If I'm
Okay.
looking at their website, yes. But yeah, so I mean, it starts with a feeder. Looks like they have a feeder. The football program, they got nice uniforms for sure. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
starts with that. It looks like a lot of their colors imitate TF South, so I'm pretty sure that is their main feeder, I would think. But like you said, getting back into the community, um, got a lot of work to be done
For sure.
for the
But
Red Wolves.
Yeah, but shout out TF North though. Shout out Coach Pigs doing a great
Yeah,
job
shout out
turning the
Pigs.
program around. And, they've consistently been around that 6 to 7 game win mark, making the playoffs. So that's good. And for them, I want to continue to see them build because as you can see, there is no rivalry if there is no competition, essentially. So it's like, yeah, we want to care about the rivalry, but it has to be worth showing up to. It has to be two sides and where it's going to be competitive. So I think South is just got to get back to a place, but the tables have definitely turned to where like every year now we're kind of gonna be expecting North to be the favorite in those games, in those rivalry games. But my vision is I would love to see both teams playing at a high level going into week 9, 8, 7-1, and those type of records, 6-2. But for now it's not that way. So yeah, hopefully in the future we could get some more competitive matchups and both teams playing at a high level, getting ready for the playoffs, and it'll make the rivalry game more exciting. But as of right now, TF North got it. It's nothing, got respect where it's due. So shout out Coach Pigs in the North program. Oh, shout out to them too for their field.
Oh
The
yeah, we
yeah,
forgot
the
all
turf,
about
bro.
that.
Yeah, the turf, bro. They got their turf finally. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Long
yeah.
overdue.
Yeah, because South just finished their turf last year, and then North just I saw pictures of their turf this year, and it looked pretty damn amazing. So
Yeah,
shout out them for sure. And it looks like their turf actually has the soccer lines drawn out too.
yeah,
So
yeah.
TF United will probably be playing on that field as well,
Definitely.
for soccer. But yeah, shout out North, shout out our South Suburban teams as a whole. Good luck to North for the rest of the season, and obviously we always wishing the best for South. They just got a lot of work to do, but that's all the games that we covered this week. One thing I want to shout out is girls flag football. The state finals for the girls flag football was this past weekend, and bro, flag football is the bro. It's so I can't even get my words together right now, bro. I encourage everybody to go to the IHSA website and look at all of those highlights that I put up from the flag football state finals this weekend, because this is a legit like sport that got crazy highlights, bro. Pulling flags is truly an art. That may sound crazy, but after what I just saw this weekend, bro, these girls are fast, and I don't know how they was pulling a lot of these flags, bro. I will see some diving flags being pulled and like mid-air. I'm pretty sure VIP captured some photos of that. But this girls flag football state finals was crazy good. The Maine South Hawks ended up winning it. They were pretty much rolling through a lot of teams, but the games were intense, bro. I mean, a lot of the games throughout the weekend were close, nail-biting games, and all of them for the most part went down to some last-second touchdowns or go-ahead touchdowns. Maine South defeated Whitney Young in the state championship, but the way that the girls do the state finals for flag football is that they kind of they bring 8 teams. So they have the Elite 8 teams there on Thursday, right? And they all play in a quarterfinal game. And then they play the 2 semifinal games on Saturday. And then they play the 3rd and 4th place right after the 2 semifinal games. And then they actually play the state championship last. So, and man, bro, remember you said it when we was talking about it, like when the girls that we would coach for Powder Puff in high school, we was like, man, they should create flag football.
Yeah.
Like, this will be an actually good sport. And I'm glad to see that they created. This is only the 2nd season for flag football. Last year, Frem won the state championship, and this year it's the Maine South Hawks. And dog, that was a great experience to be a part of. On top of that, George McCaskey was there. The Chicago Bears owner was there doing the down markers on the field. But then also Kevin Warren was there, Chicago Bears president, I believe he is. Or is he what is Kevin Warren? What's his actual title with the Bears?
I have no idea.
Whatever he is. But he's a big exec for the Bears. And a bunch of Bears marketing team was there as well. But that event over the weekend was pretty freaking phenomenal. Like, I was super impressed for sure. And definitely just got to shout out flag football. Hopefully, I know this is only the 2nd season, so I know a lot more teams are going to get a flag football team next year. But I cannot wait to see how this sport evolves, bro. Because I was telling you, this is only the 2nd season, right? So imagine when you get a full class of girls who've been playing this since youth sports. That's actually, practicing this consistently like they play football or volleyball. I'm not football, basketball or volleyball. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine when the real development starts to really show within the sport, because right now this is just raw talent that we're seeing. Like, literally, it's just raw talent. You got a bunch of fast girls. You got girls who can throw, girls who can catch. Imagine when they actually have this sport is a seasoned sport. I'm talking like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now. Imagine when it gets to that point, because we're only 2 years into this being an IHSA sport. So imagine when it gets to that point. Boy,
Yeah.
dog. Like, dude, I was calling you while I was there. I'm like, bro, this is nuts, bro. Like, this is nuts. Like, even like the certain passes I was seeing, I'm like, bro, what the certain catches, certain interceptions. And I say it again, the certain flag pulls, bro. I would see like diving flag pulls mid-air, and I'm like, bro, that was a crazy highlight that should have gone on Friday Night 5. But obviously Friday Night Football is spectacular football. But shout out girls flag football. Shout out Maine South Hawks for getting their first state title for flag football. And shout out to all the girls that competed in the, champion or the finals this weekend. Being a top 8 team in the state is, very hard to do, especially with, I think it's like 200 teams that's currently participating in flag football right now. I had to get that officially from the IHSA, but man, shout out to girls flag football for sure. I can't wait to be at it again next year. I can't wait for it to start again already, even though the season ended. But shout out flag football.
Sure.
Do you think they should get one for the boys?
I do. I definitely think that they should. And when you was talking about it, that's kind of something that I had throughout there is like, man, we don't have spring ball. And that's one of the differences in tackle football in Illinois versus like a Georgia or Florida or California, is that they actually have a spring season when they're together. The teams are playing and they may be scrimmaging and running through plays and padding up. We don't have that. So I think that flag football can honestly aid in the development of, football in Illinois if there was a spring season where they can, assemble and play, even though it's like more 7-on-7 style, but at least you can still get some reps in with your quarterback, your receivers, your running backs, and maybe find something for the linemen to do. But yeah, as you can see, the certain skills that you need to play flag football translate directly to, tackle football in the sense of hand-eye coordination, catch ball skills and coverage. So it's something that they definitely can implement for the boys and have the same type of concept where it's an actual season and it's a state champion. And I think that will be super beneficial to the development of high school football in Illinois. So I think it's just not if, but when they decide to do it. And I think that's going to be I think it's gonna be electric. Having the boys do it. Like imagine Mark Carmel with with that receiving core that they have and the DBs that they have playing flag football. Like that's gonna be electric, bro. It might be more entertaining than tackle, and it can honestly replace 7-on-7. And you know how I
That's what I was
felt
about
about
to say.
that,
What is it placed inside? Because girls flag football is essentially flag
so,
football is 7-on-7.
right?
But what is that? If hypothetically the IHSA and many other sports, like many other states, association programs adopt a flag football sport. If the NFHS just decide to bring boys flag football, where does that leave 7-on-7?
Man,
Pylon 7-on-7 and
get rid of that
emo.
shit anyway. Get rid of that shit, bro.
It's a
It's
big
too
money grab, bro. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, it is a big money grab, and it does provide some exposure because they show it on the NFL Network. They show like the 7-on-7, the big tournaments, but those are the big tournaments. But when you get like to the small local stuff, it's just a lot of BS. You know what I mean? It's not really aiding in development. So if you're not like with a boom and you playing on a national stage, then that makes sense. But everything else could really go, bro. I think that this will be more beneficial to programs. Is like now you can have your guys together versus all these different athletes spread across the country going to play for one team and y'all playing. It doesn't help the team out necessarily. And I know a lot of coaches don't really mess with it like that, but imagine you have a spring season where now all your guys stay here, y'all playing together, y'all developing, y'all gaining chemistry, getting reps in. That's beneficial to the growth and development of your program. So I think a lot of coaches and players would rather do that than go play 7-on-7. So I think that once more states adopt it and it becomes a sanctioned sport for the boys as well, I think 7-on-7 is going to slowly go away because now you don't have time to. So in the spring, when you would be playing 7-on-7, you playing flag with your team, your high school team. So I think that it will be much better than 7-on-7 just because I feel like in a lot of aspects, 7-on-7 is bullshit. It's just BS football. You got guys out there with costumes on. They not taking it serious. They not competing. It's really just some social media shit. But the flag football would be like structured and we competing and we trying to get a state championship.
And it gives more time for development because I would assume
Exactly.
I would assume that the
Yeah.
coaches of the football team in the fall will want to be the coach of the flag football team because it just gives them another opportunity to get their team together, at least their skill positions together to develop more. So,
Absolutely.
don't know if anything is happening around that part of a boys flag football coming about, but I would have to think if with the success of girls flag football, you have to have a boys one, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think everybody should push for it. I think the ADs and coaches, if guys want to see better play, better performance in Illinois football, I think we do push for boys to have flag because we need that extra development in the spring. We already don't have spring ball padded up scrimmaging, so we need any other aspect that we can get for football and development. I think flag is the perfect thing that we can do unless we figure out a way to propose spring ball in Illinois. I think I don't see why not.
I think that's a heavier lift than
I
flag
mean,
football though.
definitely. But yeah, if we can't get that, I think flag is a good second option.
Yeah, most definitely. But once again, I'm gonna say it again. Shout out to the girls flag football. Man, I cannot wait. Efe, I said this off cam, but I'm gonna say it on cam. I think you would be a good flag football coach. I
Yeah,
really do think you'll be a good flag football coach. Just because I've seen some of the plays that they were running, and and that's why I say I can't wait till the development gets to a certain point where it's like, all right, this sport it's a seasoned sport now because flag football in the IHSA is still young. It's only 2 years in. So, but once they really learn how to really start getting those trick type plays or whatever, because I've seen some attempts. And I think you were, because with you playing rugby and you talking about your rugby ideologies and how you can make certain plays, it'd be perfect for flag football.
for
I
sure.
promise you.
For
I
sure.
promise you, bro. But
Yeah.
yeah, shout out flag football for sure, girls flag football. Shout out again to congratulations to the Maine South Hawks for winning the 2025 IHSA Girls Flag Football State Championship. Outside of that, a couple housekeeping items I want to talk about with college football. Illinois did not play this past week, but they are sitting at 23 in the Associated Press's ranking. I told you they would probably get back in this week after another team loses. It looks like USC actually lost and they're not in. Illinois is at 23. You still think if they win out the regular season, they should be sitting at 12?
I think so. I think so. No, seriously, I think so, man. As I said, if your only 2 losses is to 2 of the top, and Miami just went down. Miami lost, and they were the
Oh,
3
they did?
seed. Yeah, so, Indiana's probably gonna be number 2 clearly. Well, what is Indiana now? The ranking, the updated rankings, what is Indiana at right now?
It looked like they was a number 3. No, they're number 2
Yeah, so I figured
behind
they.
Ohio State.
Yep, so your only 2 losses now are to the number 1 and number 2 team in the country. You went out. I mean, because the first 6 is automatic bids for the conference champions, and then the final 6 is based on ranking. So I believe that they can be in the bottom 6 for sure at 12 at the very least, with your 2 losses being to the top 2 teams in the country. But they just have to win out. That's the whole thing. They have to win out. But if they win out, I think they should be in. I think a lot of people think that as well.
I think so. We'll
I
see
think
though.
so.
But yep, shout out to Fighting Illini for being number 23 in Associated Press's rankings, and good luck to the rest of the season. We're gonna be talking about it as the weeks go on. Can't wait for Illinois basketball. I think actually in Associated Press's rankings, we're ranked at like 18 or something. Top 25 for sure.
17.
17, yeah.
Yep.
Hey, bro, I'm telling you. I'm not gonna say too much because we're still in football right now, so I want to wait a little bit. But bro, I'm telling you, Fighting the line gonna be nice, bro. Fighting the line
So
gonna be nice in basketball. I cannot wait, boy. I cannot wait. But yeah, and then shout out to Chicago Bears. Bears.
yeah,
Bears
them
get
a
a
dub
very
today.
good win against the New Orleans Saints today. I believe it was 26-14. Me and Miles recapped a little bit of that game, so we're gonna be posting reels of that. But shout out the Bears. Don't need to speak too much on that, but they are sitting at 4-2. That is 4 straight wins. First 4 straight wins since the 2018. Four consecutive wins since the 2018 season. I believe that season we ended up being 12-4 to end the season. But we have been 4-2 like last year, so we got a lot more season to go, and we actually have some teams that's actually going to better test us with playing the Baltimore Ravens next week, and then we have the Cincinnati Bengals the week after that, and then the New York Giants. But Bears are looking nice. The run game is looking pretty nice. The defense is looking pretty nice. The only thing we really need to clean up is the penalties. Oh my gosh, 10 penalties for 92 yards. Or 90 plus yards, whatever it was, but 10 penalties, that's something you got to clean up. We've been having that issue all season. It has not gotten better. And then the passing. We need to really get that passing game together. We've seen glimpses of it. It just hasn't been consistent enough. And today it was just completely non-existent. But we got the weapons. We got, Luther Burden and DJ Moore and Roman Dunze. Zacchaeus. Then we also have the tight ends, Colston Loveland and Kokomet. And we got the weapons. So we just need to figure it out and put it together. And I think we will. Everything I've been seeing over these last few weeks with the Bears, I've been loving it. I'm not too worried. But I do think we got a lot to prove still. 6 games, 6 weeks in the season. Or 6 games in the season because we technically in week 7 because of the bye. But still got a lot more season left, and we got a lot more to prove. But how you feeling about the Bears or anything else?
Hey, progress, bro. That's all you could be happy about is that they could be losing, so
They could be losing. Yeah,
4 straight wins since 2018. That's good. That's a good sign. So we just monitor it through the rest of the season, see how it unfolds for them. But I mean, take your wins, take the success when you can, because you know how people are when the Bears lose, and it's so much
exactly.
criticism. So they're playing well. You beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. So that's all you can ask for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But keep rolling, Bears. But outside of that, we will be actually. So are we gonna treat next week's episode, the live stream, as the actual episode, or are we gonna come back and recap the week? What do you think?
I guess we could probably discuss it and figure out what's best.
All right, bet. But we will be live streaming the Playoff Parents Show, which is next Saturday, around 8:00, I believe it is. But we'll be live streaming it on YouTube. It's probably the easiest where people can find us. So stay tuned for that. But we will also be, as the playoffs go on, we'll continuously recap the playoffs week in and week out. And this is the part of the season we've been waiting for, baby. It came by fast, but it is here now. It's
So,
playoff season, baby. So obviously we still have week 9 left, but it is playoff season, man, and I am excited for it all. I hate to see that it goes so fast because 9 games really is not that many games if you're comparing it to the college football and the NFL. But still love the playoffs. Another thing I want to mention, actually, and it's important to mention, there is a bylaw being proposed to expand the playoffs, and I actually like it. I don't know too much on the details about it, but I do know that the proposal is that they want to add more teams, give more teams a chance to make the playoffs. So they want to make the playoff bracket bigger, and they want to add an extra week to the playoffs, which means we're required to start the regular season early so we can still have the playoffs in at the same time. So the playoffs will essentially start a week early. So technically, if it was in place this year, the playoffs will start this week, and then that way it will still end a little bit after Thanksgiving, and more teams will be able to get in. And then you will start week 1. So right now we have week 0. Week 1 would be where week 0 is, which I don't dislike. I think that's we talk about, teams having a better chance or equitable chance of winning the state championship. I think this allows that. And this is a very good bylaw proposal. What will happen with it? I'm not sure who brought the proposal. I can't remember, but I think it was a coach from some football team. I can't remember. But what you think about that bylaw proposal? You don't care?
and
We don't gotta
because I
talk too much
mean,
about it.
yeah, no, it's just no, I don't really giving more opportunity for teams to make the playoffs, sure, but we discussed the competitive aspect of it, where it's like, hey, we don't want to make this accessible to everybody. Like, I mean, if you don't make it, you don't make it. Like we can't keep on extending opportunities for teams to make the playoffs. Like there's a system in place, and you have to be, this good to make it. So does that mean that you can be 4-4 and make the playoffs, or just more 5-4 teams make the playoffs?
Probably more 5-4 teams. I don't see a team having a losing record still being able to make it, but I think it gives a lot of those teams that's on the borderline. Because sometimes when teams tie, they do a coin flip. Sometimes, not all the time, but like they do a coin flip for a certain team to get in. So I think it eliminates those type of scenarios for sure.
Well,
You know,
but the
but
great thing is that we get more football, so I'm
yeah, we
happy
get more
about that.
football,
We
and
get more football.
I think it's I don't hate it. I'll be honest, I don't hate it. Um, we get more football, like you said. We get one more extra week of football, and the season will start a little bit earlier. So I
Yeah,
don't
so
necessarily hate it, but will it get passed? Who knows? It's just been proposed, and I'm not sure when it gets voted on.
okay. Well, I mean, it's cool. It's cool. Like it's nothing that I'm just on the fence. Like I'm on the fence. I'm in the middle. It's not like I hate it or I love it. I don't think it really changes anything from a competitive aspect or like the game. So I mean, if they do it, cool. If they don't, cool. I don't think it's a big major change or shift anything in Illinois high school football if that happens. Other than like you said, more football, which I'm not opposed to. You know.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it either. But outside of that, we have nothing else left to discuss. This is the Off-Season Podcast, episode 41. Keep following us on our social media as we keep coming to you with all different types of content. But we'll be back again next week with the live stream to recap the Playoff Parent Show or to talk about the Playoff Parent Show, give our reactions, and we'll keep it pushing from there. But this is Off-Season Podcast, episode 41, and we are out.